All right, we're about to start right now, so just give me a few moments here. First of all, I just want to welcome everybody back to another episode. Some very interesting things going on here, and yeah, for sure, just want to get those people that have Qlink wireless to pretty much understand what's going on. So as you're coming in, please feel free to smash the like button. I would deeply appreciate that. Share this so that other people can hear what's going on with the Qlink wireless service, and take advantage, right? Helium Mobile, get your first month free using my promo code. You can scan the QR code right there to the right of me, or just check out the description, and you'll see the link to download the app as well as the promo code to use to get your first month for free. But we're about to get started here in just a little bit, and really just kind of go over Qlink Wireless and exactly what's going on with them. And hopefully when I screen share, it's not gonna mess with the live stream, hopefully. But anyways, welcome back. Glad to have you guys here. So like I said, we're going to be talking Qlink Wireless. We're definitely going to get into a lot of the details of kind of like what's going on. I do have the site pulled up from the Department of Justice, so we're going to read a little bit about that, kind of find out what happened. Some of you guys may know what have happened, but for those who don't know, you'll get all the details of what's going on. Now, you guys know that I did have a Qlink wireless phone line. And I had made a couple of videos about just kind of really, just letting people know like how the service is, especially through the pandemic, how they kind of just like changed things around a little bit just to, help out those that were on it. And if you guys didn't know, Qlink Wireless did sell mobile phone service plans, but they also catered to those people that were on any type of government assistance, whether you were getting food stamps or if you were getting, Medicaid, Medicare through the government, or if you were getting temporary assistance for families, if you were getting actual cash monthly from them, you qualified for what they considered to be, free phone service. So it's phone service that you were able to use to your benefit to, get phone calls, text messages, do a little bit of light browsing, check emails is really what it was for. It was never intended to be like mobile phone service that you would get from, say, like Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. It was never to that. It was only for people that, were just kind of, struggling their way through life to kind of have accessibility to make phone calls, emergency phone calls, to receive calls for job interviews, things like that. That's what it initially was intended for. And this is the reason why that with, phone service providers like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Google Fi, Helium Mobile, MobileX, when you pay taxes and fees, if you look at your taxes and fees, one of them is the taxes that you are charged on your monthly plan actually goes towards for funding this program. Initially, that's what it was for. Now, you have several other providers that also do this. They call it the Obama phone, or they call it the Bush phone, the Clinton phone, whatever, but really what it is, honestly, it's just government assistance phone service. That's what it is. It's not really tied to any president. It's the U.S. government that's doing it, regardless of who's in office. So that's irrelevant to this whole thing. But there are other providers. Qlink Wireless was one of them. You had, I believe it's Assurance Wireless, not to be confused with Assurion. That's a phone insurance company that pretty much handles every carrier's insurance claims if people lose their phones, break the screen, or the phone gets fried or something, right? You pay your deductible, you get a replacement phone through Assurion. Assurance Wireless, which used to be tied with Virgin Mobile USA, technically, Assurance Wireless is one of the other ones that gives a government assistant phone service, and there's like a couple of other ones out there. Anyhow, Qlink Wireless happens to be in the spotlight, and I did get the text message recently, so the SIM card is now sitting on my desk. I don't know if there's still active service on it or not, so I'll probably like pop it into like one of my, float around phones, so that way I'll know exactly when they shut it down. But a lot of Qlink customers did get a text message letting them know that they needed to convert to an eSIM. At least that's what my line stated. And because the physical SIM card that I had through Qlink was no longer going to be active on service. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Because I heard about it months and months and months ago that the CEO of Qlink was under investigation for defrauding the federal government. Okay, so we'll get a little bit more into that discussion. But I heard about it. I wanted to wait and see what the outcome was. And it looks like that, Issa Assad pled guilty. So let's hope that this works. Anyways, let's see if it freezes or... Okay, the stream is doing a little better today. Anyways, all right, so it says nationwide telecommunications provider and its CEO pled guilty to massively defrauding the federal government programs meant to aid the needy. All right, this came out on October 15th last month, so we'll get into it. So it says Issa Assad, 51, of Southwest Ranches, Florida, and Qlink Wireless CEO, basically. Oh no, wait. Southwest Ranches, I guess that's another company because they're from Dania Beach, Florida. Pled guilty today to conspiring to defraud and commit offenses against the United States in connection with a year-long scheme to steal over $100 million from a celebrated federal programming provided discounted phone service to people in need. Assad, Qlink's CEO, also pled guilty to laundering money from a separate scheme to defraud a different federal program meant to aid individuals and businesses hurt by the COVID-19 pandemic. So, yeah, that's pretty messed up. That is absolutely messed up. But we'll continue on. So it says that Assad and Qlink each pleaded guilty to count one of an information which charges them with conspiring to commit wire fraud and to steal government money, and also with conspiring to defraud the United States in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 371. Assad pled guilty as well to count two of the information, which charges him with money laundering in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 1957. Both defendants also pled guilty to the information's forfeiture allegations. U.S. District Judge Rodolfo A. Ruiz II accepted the guilty pleas and set the defendant's sentencing hearings for January 15, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. So, this is a little messed up that they did this. I don't think anyone would really expect a company that is supposed to be helping out those that are in need, and especially during one of our most darkest times in United States history during the pandemic, want to go and commit this type of fraud. You think about it, a lot of that money that was taken could have been used to help families out there during the pandemic. I could tell you right now, and this is what kind of irks me about shit like this, is that in my city, we got a ton of homeless people. I can drive to, an on-ramp or an off-ramp going on the Interstate 17 or going on Interstate 10, and I can see not just homeless people, okay? Not just, those that, may be addicted to substance or, may have ran away from home and have just lived on the streets. I'm seeing husband, wife, several kids, probably a stolen tent from Walmart, which I wouldn't blame them for having that because they need somewhere to stay. And right on the on-ramp, there's like a section where, the crosswalk crosses through over, kind of like over a bridge that goes to the other side because the interstate runs underneath that bridge. there's like a section that's barricaded to protect that area in case cars hit it or anything like that. And in that area, it's like a small sidewalk space. There's tents set up, families living in there, families trying to survive in there. You know, the hardest thing that I seen was, you know, a wife get up and, you know, she's walking her kids to, I guess, a bus stop or to school because they got their backpacks on and they're going to school. They live in a tent over the I-17, and it's like they lost their home. A lot of people here in my city lost their homes during the pandemic because they couldn't get work, they couldn't find work, they couldn't find, you know, what they needed to survive. When you're sitting in your house with an eviction notice on your door and a couple of $100s in your pocket, and you got to decide, are you going to feed your kids and yourself, or if you're going to try to scratch up more money to pay rent? You know, that tells you just how dark we were during those times. And a lot of people had to give up their homes in order to feed their kids, to feed themselves. You know, there wasn't really anything out there. Like, people are so quick to say, oh yeah, you could have gotten a job at McDonald's, but even then McDonald's was laying people off. Walmart was laying people off. Like, places that you could quickly get hired for just for any type of work was laying people off. So there was no options for them. And then you got companies like Qlink going in and racking up with fraud all this wealth. Okay, over 100 million. Like, what? Anyways, so continuing on with this article, and you know what, I forgot to do it, so let me do it right now. But let me go ahead and post a link in the chat, and you guys can read it at your own time, your own leisure. You can bookmark it, save it for later to watch, or not watch, but read. So there you guys go. There's a link there. Sorry if I got a little rantive. This type of stuff pisses me off. But anyways, Assad's plea agreement contains a joint recommendation that he serve the statutory maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment on count 1. The statutory maximum sentence on count 2 is 10 years imprisonment. Assad's exact sentence will be determined by the court after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. Assad and Qlink also agreed to pay jointly $109,637,057 in restitution to the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC, no later than the time of their sentencing hearing. Assad separately agreed to pay what looks to be $1,758,339.25 in restitution to the U.S. Small Business Administration, or the SBA, and to a forfeiture judgment against him of at least $17,484,118. Oh man. Issa Assad and his company Qlink Wireless purposely defrauded two critical federal programs helping individuals and business suffering financial hardship, unlawfully taking hundreds of millions of dollars for their own use and profit, while obstructing the United States' ability to help people who, unlike the defendants, needed it, said U.S. Attorney Mackenzie Lapointe. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. For the Southern District of Florida. It goes on to say, quote, the plea agreements in this case impose extraordinary and unprecedented financial penalties, as they should. They also reflect our office's commitment to ensuring that individuals who orchestrate business scams are punished personally, not just corporations. That Assad cheated two different programs meant to help people in need makes this prosecution even more imperative. We will continue to investigate and prosecute vigorously all types of fraud, whether perpetuated by individuals or businesses, and seek justice for victims of these scams. You got to be a low-down piece of shit to do something like this, especially during, like I said, during one of our most darkest times. There were people that absolutely needed that money. That $109+ million could have went a long way. And you know what? Like I saw, on a personal note with you guys, I saw how dark things got during the pandemic. I personally know people who freaking lied, who, yes, they had their own personal business, but they had nobody working for them. They were self-owned and self-working, and they applied for some of these government grants for like payroll. You know, the government during that time, if you guys don't remember, if you didn't know, during the pandemic, if you owned a business and like a small business and you had people working for you, you could get a grant from the U.S. government, which is a payroll grant, and it was meant for you to pay your people and to keep your job, your business functioning. I personally know people who took advantage of that. They went ahead and they lied. They applied for it. They tried to claim they had like 15 people working for them, and made up all kinds of stuff. You know, so even those people to me are like pieces of shit, because they went ahead and they stole money that could have been actually used for like mom and pop businesses. Like, I'm a big backer of small businesses and local businesses. Like, a lot of my places that I really love to eat are like, you know, mom and pop taquerias, or you know, burger joints. I mean, they're like mom and pop stuff, you know, stores here in Phoenix that like sold like some really badass grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. You would have never known, because inside there, you know, they also sell general merchandise and goods and stuff like that. And so, you know, to me, it's disheartening to know that people would stoop that low. They would stoop that low to, you know, put money in their pockets to what? To continue spending their outlandish spendings. Like, you know, not trying to dabble into a different subject, but this is the reason why those who are, you know, in the middle class, those that are, you know, in the poverty level, this is the reason why people that, you know, live in the United States in that level, they despise wealthy people. They don't look at wealthy people as somebody who made it and think to themselves, what can I do that this person did in my own way to make me become wealthy and successful like them? They despise them because of shit like this. It only proves the narrative that's being told to people that the wealthy are greedy and they're going to steal everything that you hold near and dear to your heart. This feeds into it, because there are wealthy people that are not that way, but then they have wealthy people that are. So this definitely hurts. It hurts that cause. It makes a lot of those people despise the wealthy, to hate them. You know, it wouldn't surprise me in the future if more and more of this type of stuff happens, and we see what was shown in the movie The Dark Knight Rises, after Bane explained that, you know, that they rigged a bomb to go off and destroy Gotham. The very next, the day after, the next day, when they released the prisoners from Blackgate Prison, I don't know if you guys saw the movie, but spoiler alert, but there was a point where they showed the wealthy being ripped away from their homes, casted out into the street, judged by those who were living on hard times. They were judged by them and either sentenced to death or exile. Exile being they had to walk across a frozen river to find a pathway that would lead them out of Gotham so they could escape the bomb's blast, and a lot of them falling through the ice and dying under 10 minutes of hypothermia. You know, that movie kind of portrayed what I feel like, you know, could actually happen in the future. With shit like this happening, more and more people are just given a reason to despise the wealthy out there. And this is totally sad. So, you know, what the government is doing, I agree with that type of punishment. I do think that, you know, that they should get 15 years. Now, I don't know, with count 1 being 5 years maximum and count 2 being 10 years maximum, if they're going to run consecutively or concurrent. That we have to wait and see after the judge gives a sentencing in January 2025. So anyways, I know I don't have the screen up anymore, but I'll just read on a little bit more. Like I said, if you guys want to see it for yourself, the link is in the chat, and you guys could read it for yourselves. But the district attorney, or the U.S. attorney, continues on to say that brazen fraud schemes that prey on vulnerable populations and target federal telephone and broadband subsidy programs designed to ensure that low-income consumers can access critical telecommunication services demand the most serious punishments like the ones included in today's plea agreement, said the FCC Inspector General Farah Damelin. This result was made possible by dedicated investigators and our investment in a robust data analytics capability. The FCC OIG is committed to using all of our resources and working with our outstanding law enforcement partners to investigate and hold accountable those who abuse the FCC's public subsidy programs, and to protect all those who rely on them to stay connected. Furthermore, quote, stealing over $100 million for programs meant to support people in times of need is a crime against the entire nation, said Juan A. Vargas, inspector in charge, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, or USPIS, Miami Division. Assad and Qlink's guilty pleas send a clear message: those who cheat the government for personal gain will be held accountable. This is just absolutely insane. It goes on to say this is precisely the type of conduct IRS criminal investigations and our law enforcement partners are committed to deterring, said Kareem Carter, Executive Special Agent in charge of the Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation, or CI, Washington Government. I wanted to extend my gratitude to our law enforcement partners for their unwavering commitment to safeguarding the integrity of federal relief programs and ensuring that the system works for those it was designed to help. Yeah, a lot of people speaking here. Another quote comes from SIGPR. Is proud to have played a significant role teaming with the law enforcement partners in exposing Qlink Wireless LLC and CEO Issa Assad for operating schemes to defraud the FCC and the SBA's federal program meant to aid individuals and businesses hurt by the pandemic, in addition to using some of the proceeds outside the U.S., said Brian Miller, the Special Inspector General for Pandemic Recovery, or the SIGPR. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess my dogs are back in the house. My son must have let the dogs back in because I hear my dogs barking. What are your guys' thoughts? Please comment. Please let me know what you guys think about all this so far. Things that you've heard so far. All right, so anyways, yeah, so if you want to know a little bit more about, what happened or how did they do this, I guess basically in a nutshell, the way that they played this out was that there were so many ghost accounts on Qlink. I know this because I had an account with Qlink way back in the day. This was a time when I was homeless. I was homeless at one point in my life, and I had gotten one of these things when I was, hungry. I needed to eat. I went and got food stamps for myself. They had those people outside the welfare office with those tents, and I walked up to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you want to get a free phone?" And I'm thinking like I'm gonna get a free phone right there. So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I showed them like I just got approved for food stamps and for medical, and I was living on the streets, and so they took all my information. They validated, that I was on these government services, and then they, they were like, I needed a place to have the phone sent to. They didn't carry the phones on them. So luckily a friend of mine let me use their address for mailing. So the phone was shipped to them. I got the phone, one of these little small phones that kind of looked like this at the time. And Yeah, just phone calls, text messages. I had a WAP browser to check emails, and yeah. Well, anyways, when I started to build up in life, started to get my life around better, found me a job to help get me on my feet. Um, After a while, met my wife, and started to tag team life together and build and grow and have a family. I clawed myself out of a very deep hole, but that phone service was shut down. Um, I remember I had friends that were like, "Yo, you could have kept the phone for the rest of the year," and like, because like 8 months after getting food stamps, medical, and getting that free phone service, was when things started to turn around for me from being homeless, and so I reached out to customer service. I told them, and they were like, "Hey, we appreciate you letting us know." And so they were supposed to close my account. My account was active until like last year. And this was years ago. Okay, this was way before the pandemic, way before all that. But they kept that account open. I didn't even know that. So that's what they were doing. They were keeping ghost accounts, Isn't the government assistant phone now it's shut down? Qlink is shut down. Government assistant phones are still there. Companies like Assurance Wireless still provides government assistant phone service. But Qlink Wireless was one of the top ones. And then you have other MVNOs that have some form of service that's discounted for those people that aren't doing so well in life. But Qlink was one of the ones that gave like free phone service. So this was where like you got during the pandemic, they were giving unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data through the pandemic. They had scaled that back. They kept unlimited talk and text, but the Qlink line that that I had for testing. So this wasn't connected to my original Qlink account. This one was used when my wife when she was getting assistance from the government back in the day. The line continued to stay on. So I can tell people it is true because she hasn't been on government assistance in years. Yet that phone line stayed on. So we kept the SIM card. We kept it in the phone as a backup burner phone when it should have been disconnected, because every year, if you don't know this, every year you're supposed to submit documentation to validate that you are on some sort of government assistance program. I think SafeLink is still around. SafeLink is not affected by this. This is only Qlink because the company and the CEO stole money from the government. But where was I going with it? Yeah, so you have to submit documentation every year. You have to validate that you're still on government assistance in order to maintain the services. Now, they don't cut you off just yet. Like, let's say, like, you've gotten better, so you stop getting government assistance. They won't just shut your phone off because your government assistance ended. What they will do is they will send you several text messages, at least 3, telling you to pick one of their plans, whether it's their low base plan, or if they're gonna if you're gonna subscribe to their unlimited plan. At the time, I think it was like $40 or $50, but they have regular plans. You didn't have to go with the government assistant plan, and so they would have you switch to that or port your number out. They kept that phone line without any verification. They kept it for 5 years. For 5 years. They kept that. And that's just because my wife had insurance for my kids at the time. Now we have private insurance for the kids. So for a company like Qlink to do what they did, that's pretty messed up in so many ways. A lot of criminal activity going on at Qlink, stealing people's social security numbers. Yes, there are more things mentioned regarding Qlink and what they've done. So, I mean, yeah, Qlink is under a microscope right now. Besides them defrauding the U.S. government, the FCC, and several different programs that were developed and created for those struggling during the pandemic, they are still under investigation for other things. Because, like I said, you know, in the United States Attorney's Office site, which is what I linked in the chat, they stated that not only was there, you know, they were laundering money and everything like that to try and validate how they have all this money, but they also did some things outside of the United States. So this could be where people's social security numbers and stuff were affected. This could be the reason why that, you know, there was such a hell-bent thing of why different companies were being, breached. Different carriers' security was breached. Anyways, yeah, so over $100 million. That really pisses me off. Over $100 million. When I think over $100 million they stole, I think of, you know, of a million families that lost their homes during the pandemic could have used that money to find themselves somewhere to stay. You know, to, I mean, man, you know, I feel a certain way about this just because, you know, my family and I, we came close to losing a place to stay. You know, where I was living at on the east side of Phoenix in a pretty good area. You know, over the time of the pandemic, I was constantly late on my rent. I was like maybe a week late on rent. You know, it was tough. I was out of work. My wife was working, but her hours got cut. The company she was working for was running on a skeleton crew because they laid off like more than half of her front end. So my wife was like the supervisor / the cashier / the customer service, worker / cart pusher, / person that did the go backs. Like there was times where she was like running a 6 position job all by herself. So yeah, there was times that, you know, we were very close. We were very close to like being homeless. And that's just because with that apartment, I remember it because I was really pissed off at them. But the same day that I went into the office and I paid my rent to them, and not even like 25 minutes later, a person came to the door and had served an eviction notice and a court summons. And yeah, so all that went through, and then we had to find a place to stay as fast as possible, and found a place to stay. There was just a lot of madness during that time. Like things in my life were pretty rocky, so it was a very tough time. Even at one point, like I had to go and stay at a place, like one of those hotels where you like you can rent monthly. This was during a time where like things were so bad, like even in my own personal life, I was going through a possible separation. So me and my wife were split up, and she had the kids and they had a place to stay. And then I think it was like for like a couple of days I stayed in a shelter, and then I got some help and I went to one of those monthly hotels and stayed there. So like a lot of people were affected. The pandemic didn't just scare people because of a virus that people could have caught that that could have been unalived for, but it also mentally affected a lot of people. So this, why I'm talking about this is because there are a lot of people that go through similar things that I went through, not exactly the same things, but their mental capacity was really, 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 really pushed to the breaking point. And you had, extended stay hotels, thanks. You had companies like Qlink that was scamming the government, taking this money that could have been used to help people out during the time of the pandemic. And we even had people that were non-citizens here that needed help too. And I wasn't against that. I'm liberal about certain things. I'm conservative about certain things. But, during that time, people were people and people needed help. People needed food. They needed a place to stay, So it breaks my heart because I look at today, and like I said, I can see families homeless out there still because of the pandemic and what it has done to us as a nation. Still homeless. had a guy try to fight me one time because my wife and I stopped. I mean, yeah, we could have done it better, but there was no place for us to safely pull over. So when one of the kids was on the side, panhandling, my wife and I gave an undisclosed amount of money to at least put them in a hotel room for the next 5 days, to have a hot shower, to get some decent food, and to have a comfortable bed to rest. I said it was a family that was living in a tent off the I-17. Off the I-17 and Bethany Home Road. Anyone that sees this that's from Phoenix, there's a family that lives in a tent over there. They take anything. There's times where, my wife and I have brought them a home-cooked meal. Like, she cooked them something from our house. We wrapped it up in an aluminum pan with foil on top to keep it as hot as possible. Drove out there, pulled over with some paper plates and some plastic utensils, handed it to them so they can have a meal together. It breaks my heart to see people struggle like that. It really does. I wish I had billions. I wish I had billions to help the world, but guys like me that have true intentions of wanting to help people out there don't run into that type of luck. They don't run in. Like, I played a lotto to hope to win so I can help people and help my family. And I've yet to win the lottery. I've yet to win the lottery. One time my wife and I were so close to winning I think it was like $366 million jackpot. And I think we were like 2 numbers away, which was one of the numbers on the list and the Powerball number. Oh man, I was like so upset. But like, the secondary prize pot, because there was like a bunch of people that had those combination numbers, the secondary prize pot was split amongst 1,500 people. So I was like, man, how did 1,500 people get that? But I don't know. We did get a payout. We did get a payout. It did help out, but I don't know. I'm weird. People can say I'm weird. Like, I would use my own money to help somebody, but that's the type of person that I am, and that's why shit like this pisses me off, because people could use that. That could have helped somebody out there who really needed it. Like, I don't have the money to help somebody or to help a family like that. That money could have helped put somebody in a home, gave them a fighting chance to get their job. I mean, like, right now we're out of the pandemic. Right now we're literally at a point where, you could go out there and get a job. Jobs are going back in full force. I'm seeing a lot of companies that used to, close at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night are now starting to stay open until 11 o'clock at night, midnight. Some places are going 24 hours again. I'm seeing that and I'm like, okay, so there's jobs now needed. They need people to work the night crew. I'm sure anybody who is living in a tent on the side of an interstate or on an overpass over the interstate would gladly take a job stocking shelves at Walmart or Target or Albertsons, Kroger's, Bash's, Fry's. They would easily take a job like that. They would easily take a job, working in a warehouse. They would easily take a job like that to start getting some stable income coming in and to, get their family off the streets. I know that if it was me in that position, I don't care what anyone would, say, but I would cry myself to sleep every night trying to figure a way to get my family and me out of it. It's tough. So for companies to do something like this is pretty messed up. Pretty messed up indeed. Anyways, the chat is open up for you guys to express how you guys feel. Issa Assad and Qlink Wireless, of all the things that they've done and the money that they've stolen, how do you guys feel about it? Do you think 5 years to 15 years? Well, it's 5 years for count 1, 10 years for count 2. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they run consecutive or if they run concurrent. But do you think that a possible 15-year sentence or 10-year sentence, it's either 10 or 15? But do you think that that's enough? Do you think that they should be punished more? I mean, they are set to pay the money back. $109,000 is going to be paid back. Well, no, $109 million is going to be paid back by Qlink Wireless, and $1.9 million is to be paid personally by Issa Assad. So the FCC and the U.S. government is getting some of the funds back. What would you guys sentence this company if you guys If you had it, if the ball was in your court and you had it, what would you sentence? Like, how would you sentence them? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years? I will tell you guys right now this would be how I would sentence the board members of Qlink Wireless and the CEO of Qlink Wireless. I wouldn't really necessarily sentence them to a long prison term. I would sentence them to 3 years in jail. Not because I want them off the hook or want to give them less time. But part of that sentencing is that they have to pay that money that they have to pay in restitution. That stays the same. But they would have to relinquish all assets and properties to a family in need and swap places, which meant that if the family lived out in the boonies in a makeshift tent or a cardboard box, and that's where Issa Assad's going to live for the next 30 years, while that person lives in his home or her home. I don't know. I didn't check to see if Issa is a man or a woman, but to live in Issa's home for 30 years. I would make them give up their vehicles and any other assets they have, including their personal funds, the money that they've already had before committing this fraud, would be given to that person that they would trade lives with. And every board member of Qlink Wireless would do that. They would have to trade lives with someone that is less fortunate with them. Swap places, live a mile in the shoes of the people that you hurt. In my opinion, look, I don't want anyone sentenced unalived. I don't want anybody to just sit around. Because to me, when you have money, you are put in prison. And because you have money, you're comfortable. You're comfortable. I don't believe that someone who is wealthy is going to be in Gen Pop, you know, where they're touchable, where they got to share a bunk. You know, I've heard celebrities, okay? Celebrities are like the B list when it comes to the wealth chart. Celebrities can get special treatment. Celebrities can get put in isolation, and you know, the cells that they hold in segregation are, for that person, is put in a way where it becomes comfortable. I know, because I used to be a prison guard in my early 20s. And I've seen someone who was considered to be famous locked up in the prison that I worked at, and they were in segregation, not because, you know, security threat, not because they were part of a prison gang, and not because that they would self-harm, but just to keep them away from Gen Pop. And underneath their bunk, they had cases of soda, honey buns, microwavable burritos, like boxes and boxes and boxes of ramen noodles, hot pickles, chips, you know, cookies. They had it all. And I'm like, they even had DVDs, a DVD player, and their TV, which in segregation, you're not supposed to have those things in there. Because, you know, a little kite could be made with things that could be passed from you know, cell to cell, and someone could use it to hurt themselves. Yet this person just literally had like a vacation. 6 months sentenced to jail for DUI. And 6 months, all they did was watch movies and eat junk food until they were they were released because they had racked up good time, which, you know, I'm like, you don't earn good time in seg. You don't earn good time in there. Yet this person did. I don't know. I'm getting way off track here, because shit like this pisses me off. But yeah, I feel like that everyone that profited from this scam, from Qlink frauding the U.S. government, should swap places with somebody in need, allowing them to have a life that they could enjoy, while they themselves can live the life of the people that they hurt who could have used that money. That is what I would do as the judge, jury, and executioner. That's how I would sentence them. Yeah, it's a lot of commissary for someone to have. And for those that know, in segregation, some inmates in segregation, depending on why they're in seg, can have their commissary, but you can't have that much. You can't have cases of soda. You can have like 1 6-pack. You can have like maybe like half a box of honey buns, 1 box of ramen noodles, 1 hot pickle. Like those things you can have in segregation commissary, but everything else you cannot. You can't have multiple of those. When you run out, the COs that's working seg, they go around once a week with a commissary chart, and they take your commissary order and then they submit it, and then commissary delivers once a week. So you should have things that last that long. But this person, this celebrity, that person, they had a whole. They never needed to do anything else other than shower, and that was the other thing too. They were given daily shower privileges. You got other inmates that's locked up in segregation that go to shower once a week, according to the prison standard. And this guy is getting racked, cuffed, and brought out to the showers every day. And instead of getting only 1 hour of rec, this person is getting 4 hours of recreation that could be split up throughout the day. Like I'm telling you, they catered to this person, and it pissed me off. I know a lot of my former employees at work there, if they remember me, they knew I came to work with such a shitty mug on my face, because if I got put to work in seg on my shift, man, I was having a shitty day. But anyways, yeah, I did a lot of side talking there. Anyways, everybody, I'm gonna leave it at that. It kind of froze there for a second. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that right there. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. For those that watch the replay, #replay crew, leave your comments, questions, emotional outbursts. I'll read it all. Again, you guys can take advantage of that right there. If you guys want to sign up with Helium Mobile, you guys can get your first month for free using my promo code. That will get you your first month for free to try them out. And yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you guys on the next podcast show. Till then.